possibly can. But with that being said, I don't call myself an expert. However, I did see a lot of stuff that I just thought was a bad understanding of politics. I've seen a lot of people being off code when it comes to talking politics, and just want to go through a couple of things. One, when it comes to electing someone, uh, you want to get something in return for your vote. And for a lot of people that's watching this video, you already understand that. So obviously, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people that might just now be tuning in, or just starting to kind of understand the ADOS culture. One of the big things that we talk about is that, look, you're supposed to get something in return or in exchange for your vote. You're not just supposed to give it away. And this is something that black voters, we haven't fully grasped that. Now, granted, there are quite a large and growing group that kind of understand, like, hey, we've been voting Democrat for decades now, but it's not, it's not showing that that's been a positive decision in our lives. When we look at our community, yes, some of us individually have been able to, you know, scratch away some semblance of success, and I get that. But for the most part, for most black people, yeah, we're losing ground as a group. And so, yes, we may have, a handful of people here and a handful of people there. And no doubt that the media puts a spotlight on these successful black people because we won't want to talk about everyone else who's ass out. But needless to say, we've been voting Democrat for a long time. And based off of the exit polling that I've seen, the Biden presidency, that was spearheaded by black people. We can sit here and talk about, 18 to 20% of black men voted Trump. Well, yes, that's true if you want to just focus on that, but I'm more concerned with the 80% of black men that actually voted for Biden. That's what I focus on. And I know, hey, LaVon, you said down ballot. You said don't vote for Biden. You didn't want Biden to win. I was like, that's not exactly true. It's not so much I didn't want him to win. It was more so I don't care if he wins kind of thing. Because you got to understand, when it comes to me and people like me, I don't want to say I'm the only person who thinks like this. Like, I'm only concerned with my community, with the black community. So I don't care who wins. I don't care who wins the presidency, especially if there's no visible benefit that I can see for voting for any one of them. So it's not so much I was against Biden. I'm pretty much pro black community, what's in it for us, which is why, okay, if I don't have a president that's speaking to my needs, okay, bam, I'll let I'll let those I let that situation work its way out. But I am concerned about my local politics, my state, my city, my district, that kind of thing I am concerned about. And so, yes, I participated willingly in those votes. And plus, we had a couple of measures here in Georgia that I definitely wanted to participate in and give my voice. Just a couple offhand for people who don't live here in Georgia. I know one of them was basically, I guess the state has a sort of immunity, or they wanted to have immunity so they can't be sued for like discrimination, different things like that. And so they just want to be like immune to any type of lawsuit. So I voted against that because I believe, hey, if you're doing something wrong, that's what we have the courts for. If you're not doing nothing wrong, don't worry about it. I mean, isn't that what we're told? I mean, that's what we're told. So why do you need to have a blanket immunity? I don't like that. Also, another one where they were voting basically here, and especially in Atlanta, people get bombarded with sales calls for people trying to buy people's houses. And from what I understand, they don't take no for an answer. I mean, the boss at my job, he says, and he lives in Atlanta, he says it gets crazy. They get like 3 to 5 calls per day of people just saying, "Hey, you want to sell your house? Hey, you want to sell your house? I know you Negroes need money. Don't you want to buy a new TV or something like that? That kind of thing. Like they don't, for whatever reason, they don't understand. Like, hey, I don't want to sell my house. Leave me alone." So that was another thing, and so I actually supported that measure as well. I mean, just leave people alone if they don't want to sell. Leave them alone. And when they do want to sell, they'll call you. They'll call you. But I don't want to go too deep into that. I was just saying, there's different measures out there. I mean, I saw in Oregon, they pretty much decriminalize drugs. So, and it's not just weed. I'm talking about heroin, methamphetamine, the cocaine. They said small amounts, but that's a very vague term. As far as I'm concerned, you just legalize drugs, which I'm not against, by the way. However, we do have to acknowledge that the reason they're legalizing these drugs is because white parents are tired of bailing their kids out of jail or worrying about their kids getting locked up. So instead of just sending them to jail like what they do with us, they're like, hey, let's just make it legal, and then that way we don't have to deal with the prison and the jail part of it. We'll just pay the fine, send them to rehab, and we're all good. And so, I mean, I guess big ups to Oregon, legalizing drugs to save white kids. That's great. Also, California, I saw that they voted against affirmative action. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I see that they were a blue state, so they supported Biden, but on the flip side, they voted against affirmative action. That's strange there, but I mean, hey, that's why we vote. Majority rules. So, needless to say, I say all that to say, when you vote, you're not necessarily voting for a person. Okay, you're voting for your own ideals and to get your ideals to reflect in your community. So with that being said, no, I'm not upset that Biden's president. I've said this like a million times. To me, Biden and Trump, there's not a lot of gap between them. I mean, sure, Biden has better manners per se and a better public persona. However, me and a lot of people, we like our racism up front. You know what I'm saying? Like I like to know I'm dealing with a racist. I don't like to have to wonder like, hey, this guy's he seems nice, but there's something off about him. I don't like that. I like my racism up front. That way I can have my proper defenses. So even if, I'm trying to compromise or I'm trying to talk with somebody, I know how to talk with them because I know what I'm dealing with. But once again, like I said, Biden, Trump, Biden, either which way, we're still gonna have to fight for our reparations with either one. So anything that black people want to help us as a group, we're gonna have to fight for it, no matter if there's a Democrat or a Republican. I would even say the fight is going to be the same. So I don't know, but like I said, that's my opinions on that. Some other bad stuff that I didn't like. I actually got my notes right here, so I don't ramble too much. But I didn't like the fact that those that were speaking for us, our advocates, if you will, they were willing to not make demands of Biden before the election. It was almost like Obama all over again. It's like, hey, let's just get him into office first, and then we'll try to get something out of him after the fact. But what we've learned since those Obama years is that that's not how politics work. You got to get your stuff on public record before, so at least you have something to hold accountable. You see what I'm saying? All I can tell from like our elected leaders, our media who's supposed to represent us, the only thing they was asking for is number one priority, get Trump out of office. And then number two, hey, pick a black vice president. Those were the only things that were being asked of President Biden. Some of us, well, I would even say most of us wanted more, but that's what our representatives, the people that's supposed to talk for us, that's what they asked for. So fast forward to now, we have a kind of a black vice president. I mean, she's black, but we was kind of thinking more of a descendant of slaves black, but you gotta take what you can get or what they would give us. So we got a quote unquote black vice president, and she's a woman, which some people were specific and that's what they wanted. So we got that. And Trump's out of office. So just like that, the only two things that was asked was provided. So now what? We got a whole 4 years of a Biden presidency, and the two main things that was asked of him, we got. So what? We think we gonna just, when he gets in office, he's gonna thank us by doing what? We still ain't heard nothing yet. All we got was a pat on the back in his speech. We got a pat on the back. He did acknowledge, like, hey, black people, y'all have my back, I'm gonna have yours. He didn't say how. And maybe during that particular speech, that wasn't the time to talk about it. I understand. But at some point, we need to know, okay, having our back, what does that mean specifically? That's what we need. But once again, like I said, we that's something as a collective we have to work on. We have to start asking more of our representatives, because guess what? Biden's life is going to change now that he's become president. You know what I'm saying? His family gonna always be taken care of. His people gonna be good forever moving forward, because they can always say, hey, I'm a Biden. And his name is going to carry some weight no matter where he goes. And that's true of most presidents. And I'm not really tripping off of that, but hey, if on a personal level, if black people as a collective changed your life, we need to have fundamental change in our life. That's the way I feel, and it's going to be hard getting me off of that block. However, once again, I understand that he's not president yet, and we can't necessarily force him to do anything right now. I get that. What I'm saying is, it's time to get a strategy. It's time to figure out, hey, what do we want? What do we expect? And then we need to relay that to our representatives, our elected officials, our media, our media spokespeople. Obviously, there's not black-owned media out there. Not enough, anyway. So, once again, we have to make sure we prepare mentally to, first of all, expect something from Biden. But we also need to have a strategy when he tells us no. Because he's going to tell us no the first time. So, we got to make sure that we don't give him a pass and be like, well, he has a hard job, and, he's going to have to fight Republicans in the Senate. And, we can't expect these things to just happen overnight. See, we can't give him those outs. All we got to do is make our demands and let him know, like, we got a level of expectations, and he needs to listen. Because if you pay attention to the exit polls, you're seeing that black people are becoming unafraid to work with Republicans. Personally, I think that's smart. I don't think we should put all of our eggs in one basket. However, what I need my black Republicans to do is quit supporting just a person. You need to also look out for black people in the black community as well. So when you're talking in your Republican groups to your Republican friends and your Republican allies, you need to let them know what we need specifically as a group if you expect to get more votes going that way. Because as we've seen, the media hype towards black people that even consider going Republican is just like very mean, very, very hurtful, and in my opinion, wrong. Now, I'm not a black Republican. Okay. However, my heart is always with black people, and I don't like to see black people dogged out, especially by media critics, white-owned media critics. You don't have the moral standings to criticize an Ice Cube. Okay, so I don't want to hear that. Like all Ice Cube said was that he had a plan for Black America. Biden said, let's talk after the election. Republicans said, hey, we're willing to talk to you now. And from that from that explanation, it turned into, oh, Ice Cube's endorsing the president. It's like, or endorsing Donald Trump. It's like, that is not an endorsement. That is, if anything, the beginning of a negotiation. That's not an endorsement. An endorsement is something like, say, what Lil Wayne did, where you take a president and was like, take a picture with the president and be like, this my guy. See, that's an endorsement. But even at that, a lot of the criticism of him for that is, like I said, I just think it was overblown. And then, of course, as usual, because an individual Black man supported Trump, that reflected and projected on all Black men. It's like Lil Wayne got money. Most people with money do support or do lean Republican. Bump what they say in public. If you got money, it's you want to protect it naturally. And no one is protective over their money than a Black person that got it, because you know how hard it is to work to be a millionaire, multi-millionaire. So you want to align yourself with whoever is going to allow you to keep most of your money. Now, once again, I'm not condoning it, but what I'm saying is that a lot of the criticism was just unfair, off code, and just out of pocket. Regardless, once again, I'm not one of those people that's like, hey, if you're a Black person who voted for Trump, throw them away. Why? Because as I mentioned before, Biden and Trump, not too much gap between them. So if you voted for Biden, best believe you didn't necessarily vote for the better candidate if coming from a Black person's perspective, because usually Democrats and Republicans agree when it comes to Black people, historically speaking. I can't go off of what Biden might do or will do. I'll let the wishful thinkers think like that. All I can go off of is the past. And the past has let me know, and anybody who understands history, it lets them know, like, hey, when it comes to Democrats and Republicans, the gap's small. So you don't have any type of moral high ground to criticize a Black Republican or someone who votes Trump. That's just point blank, period. If you don't understand that, you just don't understand politics. Because from my perspective, I'm looking at all y'all strange. Like, why would you vote for Biden or Trump? You know what I'm saying? And then you say, well, if you don't vote for Biden or Trump, who are you going to vote for? Once again, we've already discussed the point of voting down ballot. I can't go through it point by point now. You have to already be understanding of that. So I can't go into down ballot. All I'm saying is, hey, either leave the president blank, or some people chose to go vote for Green Party, which personally I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, the Green Party actually, and for a long time, has been supportive of reparations. So to me, voting Green Party isn't necessarily a wasted vote. As far as I'm concerned, I think we need more parties. That's that's part of the problem, is we only got two people to choose from. What if we had more, especially someone that's willing to support something that I support? So once again, can't go into, I can't elaborate anymore on the down ballot strategy. Just know that that's the strategy that ADOS has chose. That's what we roll with. Another thing I kind of touched on this, so I don't have to really go into it, but the black male scapegoating, we got to stop that. we gotta stop that. I mean, I don't want to hear anybody say only 80% of Black men supported Biden. That's silly. Black men as a percentage, we voted more for Biden than white women. Actually, we voted more for Biden than any other group. So I don't want to hear anything about black male voters at all. We, when 80% of your group votes for a person, that's kind of a consensus. Now, I understand that the support for Trump went up during this election cycle. However, his support went up in every group except for white men. Oddly enough, I don't. That's strange, but I mean, possibly those white male voters, when they looked at Biden, they actually saw a Republican. So, the way they saw it, they probably looked at it like, well, shit, we still get a Republican, so we're all good. But, white women, black men, Latino women, all these different groups, there was an increase. Don't ask me how to explain it other than, like I said, a lot of people are falling out of love with the Democrats. That's what it shows. That's what it shows me, and it's not just black men. It's all the group. I mean, Tone Talks. He actually spoke on this on his podcast Friday. He was like, "Look, you got a quote unquote black woman as VP, but even still, Trump's support from black women went up, even with a Democratic vice president candidate. So, I mean, hey, like I said, people are falling out of love with Democrats, and if they were smart, they would quit patting themselves on the back and actually shore up that base. Shore up your black base, because we are the backbone. If we start shifting away, it's curtains for Democrats. You got to understand that it's curtains. You can't, Democrats can't rely on the LGBTQ vote to win. You can't rely on Latino voters to win. You need that 80% from black people. Actually, as a group, black men and women, we're at like 87% for Democrats. So you need that support. And if you were smart, I would shore up that base. How do you shore up that base? Hey, give us some of the stuff we wanted. And I'm not talking about student loan forgiveness. I'm not talking about Medicare for all. You know what I'm talking about, straight up reparations. That's the only thing that we haven't tried. That's the only solution we haven't tried when it comes to poverty, when it comes to crime, when it comes to quote unquote black on black crime. There's plenty of studies where we've learned that, hey, you know what? The solution is not locking people up. The solution is not longer jail sentences, because we still have crime, we still have poverty. We haven't tried reparations. Hey, let's give it a shot. And don't tell me we can't afford it. We just gave out like trillions with an S. We just gave out trillions earlier this year because of the pandemic. And then nobody want to study it, talk about, hey, we need to establish a commission and study these stimulus checks. No, they just said, hey, we going to send it out, and that's what we going to do. So don't tell me we can't afford reparations. I know better. I know better. Let's see. I'm checking my notes here. So if you see me looking down, I'm checking my notes here. And only two more things I want to talk about, then we can move forward. One, we have to start paying attention to people's history. We also have to start paying attention to people's public records. I got tired of trying to talk to people about Biden's history and people telling me, oh, none of that matters. Oh, it does matter that he was a former segregationist. That matters. It does matter that Strom Thurmond was his mentor, taught him the game about governing. That matters. It does matter that Joe Biden was quite proud of sponsoring crime bills. There's a lot of focus on the '94 crime bill, but there were crime bills before that, and and he was a part of all of them. Quite proud of them, to be honest with you. And we know what those laws did to us. So okay, and that goes back into my whole thing about being a small gap between him and Trump. It really is, and so, like I said, sure, you might say that that's his past, but it's a part of his story, and I'm not going to leave it out. When people talk about Mike Vick, they don't leave out the dog fighting. And this man went to prison, you know what I'm saying, did his time, got out, paid off all his debts, and as far as I know, has stayed out of trouble. But people still remember this man as a dog fighter. So don't miss me with all of that. Bill Cosby, and you all know I'm not a fan of his, but he's sitting in prison right now, because of some stuff that happened years ago. So don't tell me that there's an expiration date on this man being racist. I'm not trying to hear it. Also, Kamala Harris, she's a prosecutor. You know what prosecutors do? They send people to prison. And if you look at the prison population, you see that, okay, most of those prisoners are black. I'm not saying black and brown. They're black. Okay, all these people that are filling up the prison, well, not all of them, of course, but the majority of prisoners, their ancestors descended from a plantation. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say black. So, when you say you're a prosecutor, to me, I look at you as an adversary. That's why I could never get on board with Kamala Harris. And actually, I mean, when you think about it, if for those of us who don't have a short memory, we actually know that she tried running for president and she couldn't get the support there because we don't mess with her like that. But, like I said, she had to actually get chosen by Biden, and Biden was kind of forced on us as well too. So we had these two people that was forced on us, and we're looking at it like, these are our choices again. So once again, like I said, pay attention to these people's records. Okay. Moving forward, we when we're choosing candidates, we can't give people a pass because they look like us. These are Trojan horses. That they mold these people so they can use them against us. Imagine how I feel as a black person looking at Kamala Harris in an interview say that if she becomes president, she's not going to do anything specifically for black people. And she said it with her chest. Okay. And so when I hear a person say this is what she's going to do as president, I can't celebrate her as vice president. I can accept it, just like I accepted Trump as president. But I can accept her as vice president. I can accept Biden as president. But I will never congratulate them. Not gonna do it. Not knowing their history, not knowing their records. Last thing, while we're on Kamala Harris, she is not black. She is not black. She is not black. So, yes, she has melanin. But we all know that when Americans talk about black people, they're thinking in their mind descendants of slaves. And so knowing that, we have to make sure that we draw those lines and those boundaries. I don't want to hear that we're all black the same. I don't want to hear people of color, because check it out. We know that Latinos supported Trump at a large rate. However, Puerto Ricans were quick to point out like, hey, those are Cubans that are supporting Trump, not us. And so all of a sudden now we know that there's a difference between people now. But before, we were trying to say everybody's black the same. But if Puerto Ricans can say, hey, Cubans are different from us, just like Mexicans are different from us, if Latino groups are allowed to draw boundaries, why can't black people? Why can't we just say, hey, cool, she does have melanin, but she's her people from India. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, her father's from Jamaica, so that's Jamaica and India. That's not black, and we should be able to say that, and it shouldn't be an issue. President Obama, his father is Kenyan, his mom is white. He is not black. Now, his whole 8 years, we celebrated him as a black person, and I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that. However, upon further review, we kind of realized like, hey, not only is this guy not black, I don't even know if he even advocates for black people, because here's a man who had the highest position in 8 years, but you can't tell by looking at the communities that we all live in. You wouldn't be able to tell we had a quote unquote black president based off of all the police brutality cases. Keep in mind, Black Lives Matter was created during the Obama administration, and we just voted in his vice president. And black people are celebrating like I don't I don't get it. We got to understand this stuff. But once again, like I said, we gotta learn. We gotta be able to draw distinction, and there's nothing wrong with that. If we want to say, hey, let's celebrate Kamala as the first uh, woman vice president, okay, we can do that because that's a true fact. But when we start trying to celebrate her as the first black woman VP, I can't do it. I got to separate those boundaries because why? In my mind, I have to understand that it is easier for an immigrant or the descendant of immigrants to ascend to the highest levels of office, while black people can only just sit here and cheer them on. I got to keep it straight. So once again, there's a lot of stuff that kind of went on during the election that I didn't necessarily care for, but those are like my top ones. Once again, I'm not blaming anybody, or I'm not necessarily trying to blame anyone. I'm just saying, hey, we need to get better about our politics. We can't be, just satisfied with, just symbolic victories. We need like real victories, which brings us to the Biden presidency. Instead of talking about what could potentially be bad for it, I'll flip it and I'll say what I think good can and will come from it. Because people tell me I'm negative a lot, so let's flip it and let's try to be positive. One of the good things about the Biden presidency, our families can calm down now. I mean, how many Thanksgivings, Christmases have been ruined because we are forced to talk about Donald Trump the whole entire time. Not so much that you support him. It's like, can we talk about something else? Can we talk about anything else? And so, like I said, I think that'll be such a great thing because and yes, I know I talk politics quite a bit. However, I do understand that there's a time and there's a place for it. And birthday parties for my son is not the time to talk politics. Personally, I'm just telling you, I, for one, am glad that, our families can kind of talk normal. We can talk about that Trump derangement syndrome where everybody has to focus on everything that Trump does. We don't have to do that anymore. I'm so thankful and I'm so glad. And many of us have had to deal with this. Like, many of us grew up in households where we never heard grown-ups talking about politics. But now that everybody's retired and watch CNN and MSNBC all day, now everybody got an opinion about politics. When back in the 80s and 90s, what were we told? We were told none of that stuff mattered as long as we worked hard and got an education. That's what they told us then. Now it is about who's president, and now everybody got an opinion about politics. Strange days, strange. But what can you do? Another good thing, with Biden becoming president, black men were let off the hook. Because, man, I'll tell you, Tuesday evening when Trump was in the lead, oh, man, every black blue check on Twitter, every black person that had a microphone on a platform, they was going in on black men. If you voted for black men, F you a sellout, you this. I blame Ice Cube. I'm talking about they was going in on us. And I was just like, how are we taking the blame when all these other groups are the ones that actually voted for him in mass? But then, the next day, once more of the mail-in ballots started coming in and, Biden was starting to surge a little bit, The scapegoating kind of slowed down a bit. And then, by the weekend, all of a sudden now people are backtracking. Now it's not, okay, black women. Now it's black people put Biden in office. So, slowly but surely, they was easing up off of black men, but they was ready though. They was ready to blame black men again for Trump. Even though 80% of black male voters voted for Biden, they was gonna bypass all of that. and put the blame squarely for us. And actually leading up to the election, that was already starting to happen. And so, when Trump was in the lead, oh boy, they had one in the chamber just like ready to, and they fired off a couple of shots too. But luckily, because of this Biden presidency, that is a good thing. Like, once again, black men are let off the hook, which kind of goes to the first point. Everybody's families are calming down. Black fathers, black uncles ain't got to be on the defensive. Brothers ain't got to be on the defensive no more. Things have settled. So, once again, that's a good thing. Looking at it, that's good. And one final thing, because I don't want this to be too long. One final thing is, with a Biden presidency, all of our black leaders, all of our black media personalities, all of our quote unquote advocates, the people who speak to white people on our behalf, now they actually have a time to put up or shut up. All we were told was that, hey, we need to just put our trust in Biden and he gonna take care of us. And it's like, it's going to be easier to work with Biden than it's going to be to work with Trump. That's what we were told. We were told not to, put any pressure on Biden. We was told like, hey, be a team player. Listen to us. We know politics. We know how this thing, y'all don't know how things go. We're in the media. We talk to these people. We know how these things go. This is what we need to do. We need to vote for Biden and then we'll be able to work with him. That's what we were told. Okay, so with our leadership, now you are front and center. If your strategy of electing Biden without asking for anything, if that was such a legit strategy, that should work. That should work according to you, because you all are the ones who, are able to talk with these leaders. You're the ones who's in the same spaces, because we don't know nothing. And that's why we need y'all to speak for us. Hey, now is your time to shine. I mean, you got the stage. And so here's what I'm going to personally do. I'm still going to strategize with my group, with my tribe. I'm still going to be talking to my representative, Hank Johnson. Expect a phone call from me. We mean business. I'm gonna be hitting you up. Don't worry. We'll be calling you. But talk to your representatives. All these people that was carrying water for Biden, all these people that were disrespecting those of us who were skeptical based off of his long history of being racist. Okay, now it's your time to shine. So we're gonna let y'all do y'all thing. Okay, y'all, you do your thing. We're gonna see how it works. Because I got receipts. We all got receipts on all the people who was telling us to listen and that we don't know what we talking about and that we just a bunch of mad people who don't read and who don't really understand. Okay. So it's time for the people who do understand to shine. So we gonna go ahead and let y'all do your thing. Looks like I'm under 45 minutes, so we looking good here. Once again, I like to apologize for my absence, but I do tell you, I have been missing y'all. I have been wanting to record. It's just mentally, I got a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, I was grieving. I got a promotion at my new job here, so that was pretty cool. But of course, when you get a promotion, that means you get more work. So that's less time I have to do these videos and stuff. However, people have been hitting me up on social media, texting me like, trying to get my opinions on things. And I kind of forget that people do actually pay attention to me. A lot of times I just think that, I'm just putting my voice out there and stuff like that. And I have to be reminded that some people actually do follow me and really take heed to my words. So for the 7 of y'all that still mess with me like that, I make this video for you. I have been working on some crafts as well. We don't call it crafts and conversation for nothing. I have a friend of mine who she wanted me to make a blanket for her daughter. Can you see these colors here? So I'm working with this pink and this white gray thing here. So I actually have a bunch of these. These are called granny squares. All my crochet people know that. But my idea is to make a bunch of these, and then they're small. These are maybe 6 inches, a 6x6 square. So I'm gonna put all of these together to make one big gigantic. Well, it won't be gigantic, but it'll be big enough for like a 1-2-year-old. So that's what I've been working on. You all can hit me up on my you can hit me up on my Twitter, Crafting Conversations. I might even put that here in the title. I got a social media now, so if you want to follow me on there, I'd love to see some of you all's crafts and stuff like that. Also, you know, we have quite lengthy discussions on there about politics and just life in general. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Crafting Conversations. I'm gonna put it in the description below, so you'll be able to click on it. But outside of that, you know I love you. I know you all gonna celebrate this win, but just know at a certain point we're gonna have to quit celebrating people. We're gonna have to get back to work. So once again, thank y'all for coming out. See you next time.